So basically, I'm gonna come and put a patch of dirt down just like I did last time. Um, so I'm just gonna make a new layer, and I'm going to get a nice dark brown, and just put a little patchy patch of dirt in here. And I'm just gonna basically build a boulder right on top of this. Now, because I'm gonna end up doing the ground and stuff underneath the boulder, um, I am going to go ahead and create a new layer and put the boulder up on top of here. So I'm going to go towards the brown spectrum and find a kind of a brownish gray, and I'm going to start by just blocking in kind of a big rough shape to be my rock. Now, before I do anything else, I'm going to add some texture to it. Because if it's kind of flat gray and you just kind of start shading it, it ends up looking real fake. So I'm going to come in here and just kind of solidify my borders a bit. And then I'm going to use the magic wand tool to select it. This way, when I add in my texture, it kind of conforms to the edges of my rock. So then I'm going to come down here to the texture brushes, and I'm going to grab, I think this one here, this kind of splatter brush. And then I'm going to go to like a darker shade of gray, and I'm going to make it kind of big, and I'm just going to very lightly put in kind of a rough texture, and I'm going to start to think about like where I want the major forms of the rock to be when I'm laying in this texture. Then I'm going to do the same thing with a lighter value, like a lighter gray, and I'm just going to go opposite where I had already kind of, so as you can see, I'm kind of establishing the planes of the rock really here before I've committed to any like really super hard shading. So now that I've got that kind of blocked in, I'm going to start to think about, you know, the sort of little rubble that might be underneath the rock. So I'm just going to go ahead and go up here to select and then deselect. Then I'm going to lay in a layer on top of the rock here because I want the little rubble to go right over top. I'm going to use this brush here because it's got a really neat texture to it. And I'm going to start out with like a middle gray here. And I'm just going to kind of dot it in around the rock like this. That kind of creates like a little bit of a ground of gravel. And then I'm going to dot in some darker texture like that, and then I'm going to come in with almost a pure white and throw that up on top there. That creates a good base. Now what you would want to do is come in and get a little bit more specific once you put that kind of base down, so it doesn't look too much like you've just used a brush texture. So I'm going to come in with my little teeny brush here, and I'm going to lay in some more specific kind of larger rubble pieces, just because that's going to break up that whole brush texture feel, and it's going to start feeling like a more of an organic painting that you did. And you'll do the same thing with your darker values here. You'll come in and kind of get in between the rocks and stuff like that. Alright, so before I add in some little grass and a little bit of plants, I'm going to come back and get a little bit beefier with my shading on the rock itself. So I'm going to make a layer above the rock just because, you know, I want to keep those layers separated, so if I make a mistake, you know, I can come back and fix it. So I'm going to start by laying in a deep shadow on the bottom of the rock here, like this. Once again, you can use your brush of choice, whatever it happens to be. I'm not going to try to, you know, keep you from using certain brushes or make you use certain brushes. This is just the one that I like. But you want to start with like a broad brush and start laying in some deeper shadows in the crevices of the rock. You know, where I'm kind of creating a rock with like a couple of different levels here, or layers of shadow or layers of stone. I'm just darkening this bit in here, giving it some of that, like rock is formed by sediment, so it kind of forms up there. into like layers. It's going to be darkest here towards the bottom. Okay, now I'm going to come in and do a similar thing, but with a highlight. So I'm going to make a layer above, and I'm going to get back to this nice, almost white, this off-white, and I'm going to lay in highlights. Now, the thing about the highlights is they're generally going to kind of delete your texture, so you got to be careful where you're laying them in. You don't want to lay them in everywhere. And you're also, when I come back and do some more specific highlights, I'm going to kind of dot in some of that texture again. And then I'm going to pop back up here, and I'm going to switch back to that thinner brush, get a more bright white. And I'm going to come along this top edge here, and now I'm going to put back in some texture by just kind of dotting it in. So it kind of adds that texture that I deleted a little bit with the highlight away. Put in a little bit of reflected light on the bottom of the rock here. And if you guys want to pull in a rock to use as a reference, feel free to do so, just like you did with the tree if you did that. And now for the final step, I'm going to come in here, the final step on the rock, I'm going to come in and add some actual real black here towards the bottom, just to really push that contrast. Some of the heavier shadows and creases. If you wanted to put cracks, you could put cracks at this point. And now over top of everything, I'm going to put in some grass blades. So I'm going to start out with that texture brush that we used yesterday. And this kind of, I'm actually going to come and turn this sample tool, and I'm going to change it to sample all visible layers. And I'm just going to take a sample of this kind of middle green there. And then I'm going to go back to my brush. And I'm going to start laying in some little grass blades. Kind of in and around the rock, just to give it a little bit of presence. And then I'm going to come in with a lighter value and lay in some more. And a bit of a darker value of green. Maybe go, there. And again, you'd want to come in with a thinner brush, just to kind of get some more specific grass blades so they don't look too much like they're created by a brush texture. That's like most people in the industry can kind of smell that stuff coming across the street. So you want to kind of break that up, adding in some bright white highlights too. All right, so there's the rock. I'm going to stop the recording.